This is a song that was inspired by the moment that we privileged people, all of us, became the only generations to have had 10 planets in our solar system. For a very short while, we had Sedna, bless you. We had Sedna, who was the smallest little planetoid outside of Pluto. And she's still out there. She's been demoted, as did Pluto, which I feel kind of bad about. It's like, poor Pluto. They are planetoids now, and we only have 8 planets in our solar system now, which seems weird. But for a while, we had Sedna. And Sedna, as is the astronomical convention, was the planet, as it was known, was named after a creation deity, because they all are. And so I was delighted to discover that they picked not a Greco-Roman deity, as most of the other ones are, but they picked a Canadian Inuit goddess. She's the goddess of sea creatures. And the Inuit in the far north talk about Sedna, who was a beautiful Inuit girl. And one day she and her father went out on a long voyage across the ocean, which in those days was empty and lifeless. Nothing lived beneath the surface. And so Sedna and her father each took a paddle and started out on their voyage. Well, their presence on the glassy surface attracted the attention of a storm who lived on the far horizon. And curious, as storms are, it came and it started to swirl around the little boat, churning the waves around its new toy. Well, Sedna and her father turned the boat and started to make for the safety of the far harbor. Sedna had a great heart, and so she put all of her strength behind every stroke of the paddle, but her father was cowardly and craven. He looked back and he thought to himself, this boat would go faster if it was lighter. And so without warning, he reached out, he grabbed his daughter, and he threw her into the icy sea. Well, that could have been the end of the tale, but it wasn't. Sedna had such a great heart that she swam behind the boat and grabbed a hold and wouldn't let it advance. Her father panicked. He grabbed the paddle and started to hit her fingers to make her release, but she wouldn't. But eventually, the terrible cold turned her fingers into clear icicles. And with one tap on the ice, it shattered, and she fell down into the deep with these shards of icicle following after. Well, that could have been the end of the tale as well, but it wasn't. Because Sedna had such a great heart that she looked around herself in the empty blackness. And she thought, if this is to be my new home, I don't want to be alone. And so with a force of will, she turned each one of those shards of finger into a new animal that had never existed before. They became the first whales, the first walruses, the first seals, all the creatures that now populate the deep. It's said today that the shamans of the north, the most powerful of them, go for long walks across the ice, protected from the cold. They dive down into the ocean to visit with Sedna, who still lives there with her children. And they do this regularly because they go to comb her long black hair. And that really pleases Sedna, who welcomes them with open arms because she no longer has fingers to do it for herself.
Sedna roamed the deep, the cold forgotten deep. No one wants to be alone. Sedna roamed the deep, the cold forgotten deep. No one wants to be alone. From her hands they fell, children of the ocean swell. With ice's twinkle given sight, she offered them a name, and seals they all became, and laughing took a coat of dappled light. Sedna roamed the deep, the cold forgotten deep. No one wants to be alone. Sedna roamed the deep, the cold forgotten deep. No one wants to be alone. From her hands they fell, ever in the sea to dwell. Nimble-fingered, quick and lithe, she offered them a name, and daughters they became, keepers of her secrets in the eye. Sedna roamed the deep, the No one wants to be young. Sedna on the tea, the cold forgotten tea. No one wants to be young. From her hands they fell, the mightiest of all. Slow and gentle as the tides, she offered them a name, and whales they all became, to tread the paths the lesser are denied. Sedna roamed the deep, the cold forgotten deep. No one wants to be young. Sedna roamed the deep, the cold forgotten deep. No one wants to be young.